Greg Brown is the voice of the Pittsburgh Pirates and the famous call, "Raise the Jolly Roger." I got to say, my friend, you've been raising a lot of Jolly Roger this season. It's got to be a lot of fun.
Way more fun, Chris, when you win, of course. And I don't know if I've talked to you in the past about Raise the Jolly Roger, but I've told the story that started using it, I think, toward the end of maybe very last year or so of Three River Stadium. So this place opened up, PNC Park, in 2001, and the losing continued 2001 until they started to get pretty good in 2011 and 12 is when they really turned. In fact, I was looking at 2010, looking at the A's road record. The Pirates won something like maybe 20 road games, 105 loss season. And so we've been there. But the point is that around 2011, 2012, they started to turn the corner, then went to the postseason, 13, 14, 15. Only then did people actually even know that was the call I used. So and they go, "Wow, what a cool call!" And I said, "I've been doing this for about 20 years." So anyway, when we started to win, that's when people started to take notice.
Well, you said 2001. It makes me think back to what was then Pac Bell Park. I was on the Giant station doing the morning show, and we opened that stadium. The very first ever official game was opening day against the Dodgers, and Kevin Elster hit 3 home runs, and it was wild. And to think back, it doesn't seem like that long ago that a place like PNC Park or Pac Bell Park, now Oracle Park, opened up these unbelievable great stadiums, and we see the view behind you. I don't want to feel old. It doesn't
you
seem
don't.
like PNC Park has been around that long.
You don't want to feel old.
No.
I mean, come on. I was around at Three River Stadium and now here. And it is hard to believe, though, 2001. But that view just never gets old. Yeah, anybody that we bring up to maybe give a tour of the radio and TV booths, whether it be a client, friend, fan, without fail, they walk in there, their jaw drops because of the spectacular view. I've said over the years, and it's something that we should never take for granted. And I'm not suggesting you are or that you would, but I have to remind myself that oftentimes, especially during the bad times when the team has struggled, and it's been a lot of years, way more often we have struggled than when we have won. But you really do have to almost pinch yourself and take a look at that view. I've said forever, Chris, that it's so unreal. It really does look like a postcard, and it looks like you could reach around and just grab the skyscrapers and hug them. They look that close. They're just right on you. It's a perfect setting for a baseball park.
Yeah, when Cody first put the camera up and we could see it, it was like, this is like a painting. It's like a picture. It's like you can't believe. I mean, if there was ever a park and a design and construction that got it absolutely right, it's there in Pittsburgh. And I said this to Derek Shelton yesterday, having our cameras from that perspective made me realize, my God, that home run into the Allegheny River, that is a huge home run.
Yeah, it's a poke. It's now there have been a lot of balls that have bounced onto the Riverwalk into the river. They keep track of that, but they also keep track of those that just go on the fly, and that's less than a dozen. I want to say there have been 9. Maybe that's a stretch.
Wow.
All time. And I remember when this place opened up vividly when we came out of spring training in 2001. So it had been a couple of months. When I had left this place, and they hadn't put all the seats in, and it was certainly taking shape. But flew in to Pittsburgh Airport, bus to the brand new ballpark. Players get off the buses. I'm with the players and stuff. The team traveling party, go into the clubhouse, gather some things, but then walking out onto the field from the tunnel from the clubhouse through the dugout steps and just watching the player reactions. It was something I will never forget. And I remember asking Brian Giles early on that 2001 season, who was a left-handed power hitter, And I said, 320 feet to right field, that's an easy poke for you, isn't it? And he goes, do you have any idea how hard it is to hit a ball 320 feet, but then get enough lift on it? This was before, of course, exit velos and launch angles. 21-foot high wall, which is, of course, a tribute to Roberto Clemente. That wall in right field is 21 feet high. And it's so true, because I watched left-handed hitters over the years try and get that lift even to this day, and it's just not that easy. So to try and hit balls, not that you're trying to now hit balls into the river, but to be able to do that is quite a feat.
When I think about Pittsburgh and sports history, and obviously the Steelers are one of the great American sports franchises with all their championships and great players. I think about the run with the Penguins, and they've had such great players, some of the best in the history of the National Hockey League. And then I think of the Pirates, some of the great Pirate teams, as you're just mentioning Roberto Clemente. When I'm growing up, I'm thinking, about Willie Stargell and Dave Parker and Bill Madlock and Kent Colvey and those guys. And then here comes Bonds and Bonilla and Slyke. There's always been such great tradition. What does it mean for this city heading into summer? Things have thawed out. You've gotten through the spring, starting to get warm, starting to get humid, and the Pittsburgh Pirates are in first place.
To be relevant at this stage is almost unbelievable. It is the last time they were within a game or two of first place, let alone in first place, was 2013. It's been 10 years since they even sniffed the top of the division. So it's so much fun for this team to be relevant, because the talk shows around here, Chris, by this time, and this is fact-based, I'm telling you right now, they don't talk Pirates baseball even in June. In May, they don't. They talk Penguin hockey. Now, the Penguins got eliminated. They didn't even reach the playoffs. They'll talk NFL draft. They'll talk Steeler mini camp. They'll talk NFL draft, anything but Pirates baseball. They just, again, they have not been on the radar screen of frankly, Pirate fans, but certainly media. But now the Pirates are forcing the pundits and the writing and the electronic press and again, talk show hosts and so on to talk Pittsburgh Pirates. And there is a buzz. Last night that crowd wasn't great. It was about 12,000, but I can promise you, if this had taken place a year ago and the Pirates hosted almost any team, not just the fact that the A's aren't playing well.
It's okay.
It's really,
we're used to it at this point.
I got to tell you, I've talked to announcers over the years, and they have come on without fail. They'll come into the radio booth here or the TV booth or on the road. I was in Colorado and talked to, and everybody means well, but they'll come in, and one of the guys walked in maybe between innings, and I think we were beating the Rockies pretty good. We swept that series, and might have been one of the color analysts said to me, and I forget whether I was working with Neil Walker, but oh my gosh, what are we going to talk about? We're getting beat in the third inning. What are we going to do? And I put my hand up. I go, get out of this booth. Go talk to somebody that hasn't been through, for me, this is my 30th year. And so for the first 29 years, Chris, 25 of the 29 years have been losing seasons. So, don't talk to me. Don't cry on my shoulder. No sympathy here. So, but I will say, having that knowledge and that background, I can sympathize with the A's, and I will not, rip on them. I won't take any cheap shots, because I know how hard it is to win. I know how tough it is to go through losing seasons and watching a tough team. It's not easy. Winning in professional sports is very, very difficult, and baseball is one of the most toughest sports to play. So I feel for the A's and their fans.
Well, I tell you what, somebody said this to me over at NBC when I'm doing the pre and post game show over there on television, where they're like, "Oh man, I don't know how you're doing it this year." And I said, "Hey, listen, it's easy to do winning seasons when we've been winning in the playoff, and the A's have been to the playoffs a lot. When you think 12, 13, 14, 18, 19, 20. No one should feel sorry for us because and then you go back to the early 2000s. We've been to the playoffs a lot since the year 2000. But where your true mark is a professional is if you can produce great content in a losing season.
Well,
And that's what I try. Cody, who's there in the booth with you,
yep.
everybody, I try and say, hey, we can do stuff when the Giants have been in winning World Series in our neighborhood, everything's easy. Well, how do you do it when you're not winning? And that's what we're doing here. And you had to do, I mean, the Pirates, we're talking 20 years straight of going under 500. That's tough to do.
You can put, when you're winning in sports, you could put a fifth grader in the booth, put a headset on him or her. You could put a doggone dog, a puppy, put a headset. It doesn't matter, because when you win, everything works, and it's so much easier. You really do earn your money, and to a degree, in a warped sense. In fact, I was talking to Vince Cotroneo about this yesterday. In a warped sense, there's something kind of neat about working to try and keep an audience as you prepare for a Major League Baseball game in losing seasons. It's a challenge, but it sure makes it worthwhile. After a ball game, you say to yourself, we lost. It was a good game. I think I did well. You could critique yourself. When you win, this is true, Chris. It's been like this for now 30 years for me, and people mean well. And I'm telling you, when we lost 100 games a year, we would lose a couple of times. We lost back-to-back 100-loss seasons, so on. But without fail, you'll have in a 162-game baseball schedule, you'll have stretches where you win some ball games. You win 5 or 6, even though you end up losing 100 games. And during those stretches, people, and they mean well, and they're sincere, they come up to me and they'll go, "My gosh, you sound great. I love listening to you. You've never sounded better." And I say, "Thank you very much." And I walk away and I kind of chuckle to myself. And in 13, 14, 15, when the Pirates went to the playoffs, I can't tell you how many people came up to me all over the place. "Gosh darn, you sound good, man. I love you. You're a great announcer." Yep, great announcer. Take a look at the record. The best announcers are the ones that have winning teams. So it humbles you. I enjoy it whether they win or lose, but it's a whole lot more fun when they win.
Oh, your calls on MLB Network on Quick Pitch when they replay it at night. Oh, your calls are the best.
Oh yeah,
when you're winning.
Absolutely. It's funny. What's true about this is when your team loses, those calls don't make it. It's only when your team wins that those calls make it, especially locally, like on our radio station or whatnot. The team loses, they're out of the race. Boy, when they're winning, they're exciting games, exciting plays. Sure, they're going to play those calls, but it's the players and it's the game that makes those calls.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And we had Derek Shelton on yesterday, and we got to meet him this past year down in San Diego at the winter meetings. People over the years have tried to downplay leadership. They tried to downplay the manager. It's all about the front office. It's all about the numbers. I got to tell you, you find me a team that's coming out of the darkness and into the light, and I'll show you the guy. As I say, somebody has to be at the front of the plane. Somebody has to be at the front of the bus. Somebody has to deal with the players. Somebody has to deal with the egos. Somebody has to deal with the issues off the field. Somebody has to be the guy that kicks them in the butt, pats him on the back, has to be a father figure. Somebody's got to be the manager. I'll show you a team coming out of the darkness to the light, and I'll show you a good manager. Derek Shelton is that. Talk about the guy who's your skipper.
Well, I've been through a lot of them, a lot of managers. I've done other sports over the years. Pro.
Marv Levy was pretty good back in the day.
Marv's one of my favorites of all time, and he really is. And he took a lot of grief, but boy, he was steady. And what I find, and this is just me personally, the best managers, coaches, managers of people are the ones, win or lose, and especially it's true in baseball because it's every single day. When you walk into that clubhouse or in an office, you don't know whether the night before the team won in walk-off fashion, came from behind, won an exciting game, or whether the team just lost their 12th in a row. You don't know by the attitude of that manager. And Derek Shelton is able to do that. And that cannot be easy because all the things you talked about, all the stuff that's on their plate, meeting with media every single day before and after every single game. All the people, that manager's office door, if you just watch it, there are people going in and out of that door all day long. It's constant. People, when I do the pregame show with them, 10 minutes, close the door. There's a window there. There's always someone waiting now to follow. Open the door, somebody comes in. I'm always waiting to go in. Somebody comes out, I go in. It's constant, and he's great at it. Jim Leland, of course, I was around with Jim Leland. He was tremendous at it. Great people skills. And as you say, somebody who can lead through the hard times, someone who doesn't get down, someone who's able to, I think he took a big time bullet a couple years ago. You'll remember the play when our first baseman against the Chicago Cubs with a runner at third takes a ground ball, and all he has to do is tag Javi Baez, who hit the ball, and he gets caught up in the moment, the first baseman, and Baez starts backpedaling toward home, and our first baseman starts kind of following him to home plate. All of a sudden, I think it was Wilson Contreras, I believe it was, is now he had been at second base. Well, he just continues to run, and now he's headed for home plate, and our first baseman gets confused, and our catcher is kind of going like, give me the ball, because the guy is now going to score from third. So he throws him the ball, and the Cub, I think it's Contreras, slides in safe. And now, all heck breaks loose because Baez takes off for first. The ball is thrown into right field. The right fielder takes the ball, throws it to second. Ball gets away. Third baseman. And it was complete mayhem and chaos. The next day, the press conference, and that night, Shelton said, you know what? That was my fault. He goes, my fault because I should have let them know the situation. I mean, he tried to diffuse it. He tried to take away. He goes, the guy knows he made the mistake. It's addressed. It's a once in a lifetime play. Everybody got caught up in the moment. But man, he truly showed his true colors there, I thought.
Yeah, leadership. It means a lot. Somebody's got to be at the front of the bus. Somebody's got to be at the front of the plane. You got to have the right leader. And if you don't, we love Mark Kotze and also love Bob Melvin. Got to see it with Bob Melvin for a few years. We always got to talk a little football since we brought up Marv Levy, and we got to go back to your Buffalo Bills days. Isn't it amazing? Bill Walsh and the San Francisco 49ers are always going to get credit for the West Coast offense. Walsh learned a lot of his offense from the great Paul Brown in Cincinnati, but the K-gun offense in Buffalo that led by the great Jim Kelly, Hall of Famer, and got to the Bills, and Frank Reich was as a backup was great, got them to 4 straight Super Bowls. There are so many offenses out there when you look at West Coast or the K-gun that we see in the NFL today. No one ever goes, I've seen that before with Jim Kelly back in the day in the K-gun offense. A lot of what happens now in the NFL was happening back when you were covering the Bills.
And I think a lot of that has to do with, without disrespecting Bill Walsh, because I didn't know him at all, but I do know Marv Levy, and he was so humble. Like he wasn't looking for his name or the K-gun offense to be something that is talked about to this day. He wasn't looking for his legacy. He was looking for what was best for the Buffalo Bills at the time, and so humble and downplayed everything. And so again, not looking to make a name for himself, which he would have done had he promoted the K-gun as his invention. It was not just Marv, it was others. Jim Kelly was very much involved in the design of that. But you're right. It's kind of comical that we still to this day hear about the West Coast offense, but we don't hear much about the K-gun. And it was revolutionary, and it changed offenses. Every once in a while that no huddle will come back. Some teams still kind of use it, but that was the first time that it was used full time, the no huddle and the K-gun. And I credit Marv. Ted Marchibroda was the offensive coordinator, so he another humble guy, but working and not having the big egos, not afraid to allow Jim Kelly and other players to get involved and say, hey, this could work. We Bills let Jim Kelly call his own plays, and I I think the world of Marv. I think the world of that organization at that time, and it'll that legacy will live on. The fact that they went to 4 straight Super Bowls, I don't know that that'll ever be done ever again.
Well, we know you got pregame show stuff to do. We always appreciate the time. And I just want you to know that after I get done with every broadcast, and whether I'm getting home from the Coliseum or I'm here in my home studio and I go inside and I watch Quick Pitch, which is the highlight show on MLB Network after all the games are done, I get a great smile when I hear Raise the Jolly Roger. And I think of you every time.
Well, that's awesome. Well, that makes me smile. So, Chris, thanks, man, and it makes me smile because I know that it's meaningful to you. It's meaningful to a lot of fans, and it's it's kind of the perfect ending. It works. It really works, and it's kind of made its way around the world. I get tweets from people of pictures of they'll see the Jolly Roger. Heck, I got one last year. Some guys like traveling in Italy, and he saw one in Venice, and he's like on a gondola, and he takes a picture of it. He sends it to me. So it's really cool that everybody can kind of unite around it.
Well, the fact that you've come on our show many times means a lot to us. You know what a big Pirates fan Cody is, and we talk a lot of Pirates baseball here, and it's great that you guys are winning. So have a great call tonight, and let's talk later on during the season.
Thanks for having me on, Chris. Appreciate it. Great talking to you.